one of the things I thought we would do, as opposed to, you know, I get a lot of questions from you guys asking about certain videos on the channel, which I really appreciate. But a lot of times it's hard to answer the swing technical questions that you ask. So I thought it might be a good idea today to maybe just come into the studio. This is one of the great studios here, and just answer your questions if you had any. And I have some in mind that you've asked that I will also answer. So I thought we'd just go through some of the main things that I get asked about the single plane swing, about the technical stuff that I see, and the stuff that it's hard to answer a lot of times when you ask the questions. So I'll just kind of start off here, and if you have questions, please type them in so I can see them here. We're going to put them on the screen. I'll be able to answer them. But the first thing that I get asked a lot about is, what is the difference between the single plane swing with the irons and the single plane swing with the woods? And really the answer to that question has a lot to do with, there's absolutely nothing different between swing mechanics. So you're not changing your swing ever in this entire process. The motion is exactly the same. However, clubs are different. And what I mean by that is, an iron is built, it's obviously shorter than a wood, and it has more loft than a wood. So I want to answer the question on what's the difference between the irons and the woods. Let's talk about ball position first. I have a trainer here that I've designed that specifically helps you with this, but I'm going to use it to demonstrate what I mean today. But let me just pull my driver out of the bag and let's talk about this. A driver is designed, when you tee up a golf ball, a driver is designed to come in and hit this golf ball where the shaft is almost straight up and down. See that? So if I put this club on the ground, and I'll actually put it on a tee and I'll show you. So I want to make sure that I hit this club the way it's designed. So I put the ball on the tee, I widen my stance, I take the club back, and look, when I get to impact, notice that that shaft is straight up and down. All right, so let's just use that as my demonstration right now. Okay, so notice that shaft is aligned with my lead shoulder. All right, so the position of my body, the position of the ball, and the width of my stance has allowed me to return this club to its proper design. Does that make sense? All right, so there's driver. Okay, so an iron, however, an iron is designed to be hit with shaft lean. In other words, I want the handle to be in front of the club head when I strike the ball. Well, look, all I have to do is this. The ball goes back into the stance, so closer to the 5 inches inside the lead foot. My stance becomes more narrow. The same exact golf swing, look what it does. It creates a shaft lean. Does that make sense? So did I change my motion? No, nothing changed, except I went from a ball position with a wide stance for the driver and a narrow stance with a further back ball position for an iron. So the swing's the same, but the dynamics of the strike change because of the ball position relative to my lead shoulder. And I cover this in one of my videos on the channel, that I am simply positioning my body. Now here's where you make the mistake, and we'll talk about swing plane here in a second. The mistake is made when you have the ball too far forward with an iron. See what happens? I can't lean the shaft now. I have to release the shaft early because the ball is too far forward. The same thing occurs if I have a driver, a longer club. If I take a driver and I have the ball too far back, now I have shaft lean with the driver. See, now I got another problem. So the problem occurs when you're not matching the ball position and address with the club that you're hitting. That's why I designed this alignment ball position trainer. Now, so that's just simply dynamics of a golf club. You just have to get the ball position correct to hit the proper lean in the shaft. Now, from a down the line view, we can talk about swing plane, right? So let me just do two. I'm gonna put two golf balls down here. And you're gonna see the driver, and I have, this is a 7-iron. You're gonna see that a driver and a 7-iron are on, because of their length and their lie angle, are on different planes. Just from their design, they're on different planes, right? So now, watch what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just set up here, And there's not a ton of spine tilt difference between a driver and a 7-iron, but obviously the club is shorter with a 7-iron, so I'm closer to the ball. I'm further from a ball with a driver, but the club's going to move on a different plane because of the design of the golf club. So let's do the driver first. So this motion with the driver, I'm going to scoot away just a little bit. So here's my driver motion, right? So I'm a little further from the ball because the club's longer. I take it back, there's the backswing, there's impact. There's my single plane swing with a driver. All right? Now I got a 7-iron. The ball position's further back. My stance is more narrow. And watch this. It's the same exact motion. Go back to the swing plane view. Same exact motion, except the ball's closer to me. It's not where the driver is, where the iron is. It's the same exact swing motion. So a lot of guys are saying, what's the difference between a driver and an iron? The motion's the same, but the club is shorter. And because of the length of the club, it's on a different plane. And you got to make sure you get this face-on ball position dynamic correct, so you're hitting the club the way it's designed. I don't want to overcomplicate that because it's really a ball position change, and you're making the same exact swing with both golf clubs. The other thing that I was getting asked on the channel was, do you need properly or clubs that are fit, designed for the single plane? And here's the thing, you always need clubs fit to how you swing. So when people ask that question, the answer is yes, you need clubs that fit how you set up and how you swing. And if you're setting up on a single plane and swinging on a single plane, you need your clubs to be fit for that way that you swing. Now, I don't know what kind of clubs you hit. I don't know how they're fit currently. I don't know if they need much adjustment at all. So it's hard for me to say, hey, you got to adjust your equipment, because maybe it works fine for a single plane swing. Most likely it needs to be adjusted. Just to give you an idea of what's in my bag, I hit Callaway Rogue Pro irons that are 2 degrees flat at 1/2 inch over standard length. So these are 2 degrees flat and 1/2 inch over. These are Callaway Rogue Pro irons. My driver is a TaylorMade Sim driver, 8 degrees of loft. Somebody asked about loft. My driver is 8 degrees of loft with sometimes it's between an X and an S shaft. It's a high kick shaft. I like to hit the ball high. I hit a Maverick 3-wood, Sub-Zero 3-wood. My wedges are, I have a Callaway, this is an S-grind, what is this one, the MD3 wedge, and I hit the TaylorMade 58 degree wedge. But keep in mind that, that the clubs that I have in my bag, I have a number of different clubs I put in and out of my bag based on the course I'm playing. I do carry a 3-iron through a pitching wedge. Sometimes I pull the 3-iron out and put another wedge in. Depends on the course I'm playing. So this bag will change based on the shots I need to hit. For example, I just played a tournament this last weekend, and I put another 3-wood in my bag because I needed a little more. I put my stronger lofted 3-wood in my bag because I wanted to hit it further than my shorter 3-wood. So I have kind of a variety of clubs, but I'm gearing my equipment towards the venue that I'm playing, if that makes sense. So there's some method to the madness of what I do with the clubs in my bag. But let me go ahead and see if there's some questions on here. You highlighted a couple here. All right, so in your post-driver session, you said you tend to block your shot if you lean into the left side too much. Lean left side. How does this differ from the feeling of the rotation drill exercise? Well, so when I tend to hit the ball in a block, think of it this way, and this is a driver question, really. It kind of goes to the same thing that I just mentioned a moment ago. If I'm setting up with a driver and I return this club to its nice aligned position, that'll be dead square, and I'll hit that ball perfectly straight. If I tend to get leaned in front, which is a lateral motion, a little too much, the club will come in, it'll hang itself open like that, and I'll hit the ball to the right. So that is a tendency I may have if I get into the wind. I tend to get a little lean. That's what happens. So you ask about the rotation drill. You know, the key is here is to re-rotate into the correct position. So it's always about getting the body in position so this can realign. So it's really, does this get realigned or is this not able to get realigned? That's a body position thing and a tilt thing. So I don't know really the reference to the rotation drill, but any rotation you do in the body needs to realign that position at impact, which gets the club square. That's the purpose and the goal and the reason. Well, it's how I hit my best shots, because I'm getting back to impact. Next question is, in one of the driver videos, I believe you noted that you were using a 6.5 degree driver. I hit an 8 degree driver. Okay, that's the loft I like. I can hit a 7 degree driver, but I'm trying to optimize distance. But yes, if so, can the single plane swing setup lead to a lower driver loft, if or no difference? Look, you need to optimize your driver. It's going to be based on your swing speed. The variables of a driver are this. You have ball position, tee height, stance width, and then speed. And those variables launch the golf ball into a trajectory. The last variable is the loft, because after you get your speed variable, you got to spin the ball in a way. So you don't necessarily need an 8 degree driver. You may need a 9 or a 10 based on your speed. I don't know what your speed is. I hit a speed of driver that allows me to launch it and optimize my distance window. But you need to do that. That's a speed thing, depending on how fast you're swinging it. One of the questions I also was asked quite a bit is, how high should you tee the golf ball? I want half of the ball above the top of the club. So half of the ball above the top of the club. Sometimes I go a little bit more than that, but half of the ball above the crown of the golf club. That's how I like to tee the golf ball. Let me see here, another question. It's very difficult for me to let the left arm lead the swing as normal state. So that's a good question. So talking about what you're asking there is, how do you get the lead arm to lead? And you don't do it with the lead arm, you do it with the turn of the body. So look at my position here at address. I'll take it to the top. I transition into my lead knee, so there's that stability. Then I turn my body. Notice when I'm turning my body, it's pulling the lead arm. And then I return the club. So it's a turn of the body that's pulling the golf club. So you don't want to try to do this. You don't want to try to pull the arm. You want to turn the body, which in essence pulls the arm. Very important distinction there on how you get the lead arm to work correctly. What's that? Oh, did Mo move his head back at the backswing? So if you watch Mo swing, be careful when you discuss head movement in the golf swing. And I tend to pay a lot more attention to body movement than head movement, and I'll tell you why that is. Because if you look at the head, it's independently hinged here at the neck. I'm not moving my body right now, but I'm moving my head. And so you can see head movement in a swing, but there's not body movement there. So when Mo would go to take the club back, he would lift his head and turn a little bit. So you saw some head movement, but you got to pay attention to the body movement more than the head movement. And so the head, you only want the head moving relative to the body. So if you saw Mo, he would lift his head up a little bit, then come down, but his spine would stay in its position. So I'm more concerned about the spine. So I don't see much body movement in Mo's backswing. It's very positioned. Then he takes it back, then he comes down, and then after impact, his body moves forward, which moves the head forward. Pay attention to body movement, not head movement. From Justin, I am right hand dominant. Interestingly, I can only feel the lead arm properly lead when I bat lefty, but not righty. You have any drills to stop the right hand from taking over? So, can you skip a rock? You know, skipping a rock, see, usually when the right hand takes over, it's not because the right hand is taking over. It's because the body is allowing the hand to take over. Here's what I mean by that. So I'm going to drop the club for just a second. Actually, let me do it this way. Try this feeling right here. So if I had the club like this, and I tilted my body, and I just threw golf balls underneath the club, that is how the arm should be working underneath you. That's that underneath skipping the rock feeling, right? Now if I did the same thing with a club, and just skip the rock and then put the hand on there and then skip the rock. That's exactly how the hand should work in the swing. So you've got to get the feeling, it's the tilt of the body that's keeping the arm from not taking over. If what I see happen is a lot of people lose their tilt, and now the arm it's above this arm, so it looks like it dominates. But that's not a right arm dominant problem, that's a body position problem. And that's where I see most people have the biggest issue. So what I want you to do is just take the club, you can flip it around like this, and get the feeling for underhand throwing. Look at that motion there. That's how it should feel. And that's how the trail arm, right arm should feel as you swing through the golf ball. It's a good way to do it. All right. I have a problem with balls to the right, too much body rotation, question mark, or to the left, too much hands in advance. At what moment do you feel the right foot start rolling, lifting, the right foot? Here's something that, and this is the YouTube channel, so many of you have not been involved with our academy and our coaching program. We have an online coaching program where you can literally right now be sending videos to our coaches and getting instruction from our coaches. And the reason we do that is because you're saying I hit the ball to the right or to the left, and you're guessing. You're guessing at what could be going on. And by the way, when you ask me these questions on this channel, I'm guessing too, because I can't see your swing. Now, if I could see your swing, I would not be guessing. I'd be telling you exactly what's going on. Well, I don't want you, and this is just me wanting to help you as much as possible. I put the information on YouTube, but I want to help you stop guessing and get right to a really, really good, consistent golf swing. Well, that's why we built the coaching program at Graves Golf, because I want to be able to coach you because I can see exactly what's going on. So right now, I'll make a little guess with you on what's going on with your swing. But let me just tell you something. And I tell my students in all my schools and classes this. The answer to every one of your swing problems, every one, lifting the foot, rolling the hands, hitting it left, hitting it right, is to keep focusing on matching the model of Mo's single plane swing. All the answers are there. So, and this is what I tell all my students, if your setup is correct. So I'm just going to go through everything with you. If you have a perfect setup where at address you have the lead arm and lead hand in position, from a down the line view you have a single plane position. You can see the single plane from down the line. You're going to flip, yeah, right down the line. So now you're in a perfect address, all right? So the legs are relatively straight. You have your single plane position. You take the club back, and it goes onto a plane position. You transition, you bring it back to impact, it realigns the lead arm, and your body's tilted, and then you release the club, and you're back to the plane. Okay, so I'm looking at all those things. If I get all of that correct, including the position of the hands and the tilt of the body and the foot position, if all that's correct, that is the solution to all of your swing problems. Okay, now you're hitting it to the right. The answer is in there somewhere. The answer is you lost your tilt. Your trail hand was in the wrong position. You lifted your foot. Whatever it is, the answer is inside the fundamentals. So the key is to keep working on the fundamentals. That's the answer to every swing problem. Now here's the second part of this. How do you know if you're matching the fundamentals? Because here's what I've learned as an instructor, that no one can really feel what they do. And the answer to that question is you've got to videotape your swing or get some sort of feedback. That is a feedback tool. This is an alignment trainer that helps me know that I'm setting up correctly with ball position alignment. So I always use ways of getting feedback. But my point to you is, until you stop guessing, until you're like, well, I'm hitting it to the right, let me make a guess, or I'm hitting it to the left, let me make a guess. This is an endless cycle until you nail down a way to measure if you're doing the model correctly or not. And this has been my biggest success story as an instructor, is that I keep focusing all my students on the model. And those students who get better and better and better at the model improve dramatically better. It's the people who guess that can never really nail down the model, who don't get coaching and keep trying it, and then they come back and say, well, it doesn't work. No, look, this swing works if you do it right. This swing does not work if you do it wrong. It doesn't make any sense that way, right? So you must get the model correctly, which means the lead arm position where you're in that ulnar deviation, full rotation, straight line position, right? The trail hand being, watch this, I'm tilted and the trail hand coming from under. So now I'm in a non-rotational trail hand with a fully back of the hand to the club face position where now I can return that to impact. And I promise you, if you do that, you'll hit bullets just like I hit when I play. But if your hand is incorrect, which I see a lot, if the club is not lining up with the arm, if the tilt of your body is incorrect, if all these things that I see are mismatched, you will continually have problems and you'll guess at it. The other thing I want to mention is this. Golf swings, and this is probably what drives me the most crazy when I watch people trying to learn a golf swing, is they want to take bits and pieces of it. Oh, I'll just get Mo's grip. You focus on the grip, but you got to focus on the body position. It's not really grip and address, it's address and grip. What I mean by that is you put your body in position and then you hold the golf club and things line up. But if you grip the club, then you're going to fight the position of your body to get the club to look right. That's backwards. So what I want you to do is get your body right, then put the hands on there, and now just return that club to impact, and it's very easy to do. So you can't just take Mo's grip, you can't just take Mo's setup, you can't just take Mo's backswing. You got to get it all. You got to get it all right for it to be the full system to get the results. And that's going to take, making sure you have some kind of feedback that you're doing it correctly. So I just want to point that out, that a lot of people are trying stuff, and I'm not a big trying guy. I think you need to dedicate yourself to the model and master the model, and then you get crazy great results, but you got to master the whole thing. On the transition in the downswing, I need to lift my left heel a little bit to get my left side moving. Is it okay to lift my left heel? Well, I doubt you're lifting it in the transition, but if you lift it in the backswing and then transition, I don't mind a little lift of the heel in the backswing, so then you can put it down in the downswing. I've seen that work pretty well, and it works just fine. So no problem with that. So I had a question regarding Mo's finish. Why do you go up again and point the club to the target? So you'll see when Mo finishes the swing, and when I finish, we do this. And it's very much for balance, but it's also because the body has stopped. Let me explain this. This is an interesting question here. One of the things that's really, really important about a golf swing, I'll do this without a club for a second, is everybody focuses on movement, right? It makes sense. You focus on the movement of a golf swing. But what's just as important in movement, because there's basically a sequence of events in the swing, what's just as important in movement in a golf swing is what stops in a golf swing. So let me go through what stops, and I'll just talk on the through swing here. So when I go into impact, this leg is stopping. My knee is flexed, is stopping. And my body is moving until I get to impact. And then from here, my lower body, because the foot is down, my lower body is reducing its movement, slowing down, and the upper body keeps moving. See that? Upper body keeps moving. And then what happens is my torso gets stopped. I want any of you to do this. I want you to go to a fully rotated pelvis with your feet on the ground, fully rotate your torso, and then I want you just to hold this. I can't go any further. I am in a position where my body will not go any further. So that's why we stand up. So it's really about how the body has stopped its position and balanced versus when you see people over-rotate and lean back, and that's what I don't want. So where you see Mo finish, where you see me finish, is because, and this is where you see some of my instruction, which I think you get a lot of benefit from, is I'm creating a range of motion, a limit to the range of motion. Think of it this way. If my body only goes to here, and my upper body only goes to here, my arms can only go to there. Now, and how is that happening? A flexed lead knee, a foot on the ground, the tilt of my body, and that's it. That's all I can do, right? Well, now, that's what strikes the golf ball so consistently for me. So, because I put my body in a position where it reaches its range of motion maximums. Now, that's what allows me to be, and Mo, to be so extremely consistent, because we can reduce the variables in the motion. In other words, we can't rotate too much. We can't tilt too much. We can't swing the arms off of their position. Mo even said this to me when I would practice with him. He'd say, I don't know how to swing it badly. And what he was saying is, I only can move within this range of motion. I can only move within this range. And by saying that, by only moving within that range, he was saying is, I can repeat this motion and I don't have any variability to it. That's why you see Mo's finished position. It's where the range of motion has completed and he stands up. It's a completion of the range of motion. Next question. I have an issue pulling my driver. What would cause that? I feel it has to be opening my hips up and not getting to proper limitation positions. Yeah, I mean, if the hips open, the upper body opens, the club moves on an outside path. Once again, this is Tommy John. Once again, you must please start matching the model. If you're not going to send videos to our coaches, then videotape yourself and start doing it yourself. But you must start. That question, you would know exactly what's going on in that question. Are your shoulders more open? Is your leg straight? Is your foot up? Is your body out of its tilt? It's in there somewhere. What part of your swing looks different than the model? I'm going to ask that again. What part of your golf swing is looking different than the model? That's where you start. And by the way, you need to start in order. In other words, is a dress perfect? Is the first movement perfect? Is the backswing perfect? Is the transition perfect? So work in the order and then nail it down, because as you get better at matching the model, all the stuff, that stuff goes away and you start hitting it much, much better. But we don't want to be working on your downswing if your backswing is bad, because then you're going to be in a fight. You're going to be fighting, how do I get my downswing right when this backswing's not even right? So you got to get it all correct in the proper order. How do I prevent casting? This is from Mike Johnson. I'm having trouble getting weight back to my lead side. So you don't want weight to your lead side. You want weight to your lead knee. You want to go into your knee. It's not about just putting it on that side of my body, because I can do that. But it's getting your knee. It's like stepping into a shoe. That's what I put in my book. It's like stepping into a shoe. So I need to go into the shoe. Now keep it there. All right, keep the weight there and then swing around it. There may be a range of motion issue with your hips, but you need to go into the knee. So here's your drill. Go into the knee, keep it there. Don't let your knee move, and then turn around a flex knee. And then your hands can lead and you'll stop casting, but you got to get your weight to your lead side. The other thing I would look at, and this was Mike, is if you're moving too much back here in the backswing, it's hard to do that, so you might want to shorten your backswing a little bit. Do you ever use the single plane swing? I use a single plane swing on every single shot I hit. I don't deviate. This is my mechanics. This is the way I hit a golf ball. You should be able to use it easily from a fairway bunker, and a greenside bunker is it's not a full speed shot. There's finesse shots, but I use this motion on every single shot that I hit. From John Adams. What's that? Yeah. Are you reaching farther bending? Yeah. So there's a little bend difference between, this is from John, set up for a driver. Are you reaching further or bending further than an iron? Yeah, because an iron has a little more bend, but I measured this. And the bend of your body is between 40 and 50 degrees. It's about that much. So there's not a huge difference. So I'll just do that real quick with you. Once again, this is a driver. So there's my driver setup position. And here's my 7-iron. Watch my spine. Didn't change much, did it? So there's a driver. Here's a 7-iron. Not much difference between a driver and a 7-iron. So it's hard to feel that in a wedge is a little bit more than that, but there's a little bend difference, yes. From Paul Anderson, would it make sense that if you swing the same every time to have your club the same length, so it's the same swing? Yes, but you can't. And here's what I mean. You cannot make your driver the same length as your 7-iron because you lose the lever length. The purpose of this club being long is to give it speed. And this is where everybody keeps asking the question about same length irons. You're going to have a little bit of a problem if you try to make all your clubs the same length. So you end up with this. You end up with long woods, same length irons, and then I don't like long wedges, because what's a wedge for? Finesse. finesse shots, short shots, 50-yard shots. Why do you want a really long club when you want control of a wedge? So you don't ever end up with all the same length clubs. Now, here's another question I have for you. Does the few inches that you use when you play golf club, is that really going to give you a huge advantage? And I don't think so, because when I play golf, I'm generally, if I hit a 7-iron 166 yards. That's how far I hit a 7-iron. If I hit an 8-iron, about 152. All right, somewhere in that range. If I have 156, which is too far from an 8-iron, and I hit my 7-iron 10 yards past that, what do? I got 156. You know what I do? I choke up on my 7-iron. I've just shortened the lever length. So now this thing goes about 7 or 8 yards shorter, right? I'm always doing this to my golf clubs. I'm always choking up, I'm using the length of the club as variability on this speed. If you get same length clubs, you're going to have some issues, right? So I'm not a huge fan of same length clubs. I think they work okay. I think there's some merit to having one length of irons, but you end up with maybe 4 clubs that you're going to have in your bag that are exactly the same length, maybe 5, and that doesn't give me an advantage. That doesn't help me with an advantage. So no, I don't agree with single length clubs. I think they're at some point they're okay, but I don't need them to be a good golfer. They're not going to help. They're not going to give me an advantage. There's no way a single length club gives me an advantage. And my ability to move my hands up and down and give me a little bit of variability on how far I hit it is important to me. So I think people are making a big deal. Just because Bryson used same length, by the way, Bryson doesn't use same length clubs. His irons are the same length, his woods are a different length, and his putter's a different length. So he has different length clubs in his bag. So the same length irons thing, I think you got to be careful. Now, if they work for you and you like them, you enjoy them, great. Go play some great golf. But I'm not going to move to a single length iron. It's not going to help me. It's not going to give me any advantage over what I have in my bag right there. Next question. How can I stop from flicking my wrist at impact? I tend to hit high because of this. So, releasing early, right? Here's what I want you to do. Any of you out there that are releasing early, here's a little drill for you today. I want you to lock your lead wrist in at address. So here we go. See how I deviate my hand? It's called ulnar deviation, just like this. I grip the club. So I got my lead hand position. I'm gonna take that lead hand position to here. Don't hinge the hands. And I want you to go ahead and I want you to hit the golf ball and just extend the arms like this. So only take the club to here, and then you're gonna hit. And see what happens is you go from here to there, and I want you to get this. And here's what I'm doing. It's not just about the hands. I'm matching the body turn to the lead hand position. Because when you flick the wrists, it's because the body stops and the hands flick. You got to get the lead arm and the shoulders to match. You got to go here to there. And most people, you got to shorten the swing up so you can match up the lead arm position with the torso position. That's what I want you to work on. That's a good drill for you. Is the ball to club face square, or is it slightly open at address but still square? Yeah. So that's where my club is at address. And that is, to me, that's dead square. So that's square. Let me see what I got here. This is a yardstick. Okay, so I'm going to put the yardstick down here underneath the ABT. And then I'm put the club down against that yardstick. Okay, that's right against the edge of that yardstick, and I'm going to move the yardstick. There it is. Dead square. Does that look open to everybody? So that might look open to the camera, but that's dead square to that yardstick. That was right on the yardstick line. So that's perpendicular to the target line. I think it's an optical illusion that it looks open. A lot of people say that. All right, what we got? I'm always curious about Mo's follow through high and then he flips it forward. Is there anything to that? Yeah, I just mentioned that there's a range of motion. The body stops. So what happens is the body has reached its range of motion. So I can't turn anymore, and then he stands up. So there is something to the fact that he's reached his full range of motion, yes. Let's go to Kenyon Ferguson. Hey Todd, I have 125 to 130 club head speed, and I always hit the driver fat. So I shortened up my backswing, which helps, but I feel I'm not utilizing my full 125 and 20 by. So look, here's the thing. Everybody is, and I don't want to sit there and say that speed's not important, because speed is very important. But I can swing a driver probably up to 115, but I don't. I play at about 110, 108 to 110. Now, can I set up on every tee shot and swing it 125 or 115? Yeah, I can. I can stand up on every tee shot I hit and swing it to 115. I can do that, but I don't. And the reason is because I want to hit fairways and I want to control. So I know you can swing it 125 to 130, and that's great, but that's not how you play the game. I want you to play with a controlled 115 to 120, and then occasionally maybe try to swing it hard. So good players do not swing 100% all the time. That's just not how you play the game. So when people ask me questions like, hey, I got all this speed, that's great, but you're not going to play well all the time using all that speed. It's just not going to work. You need to build, what I need from good players is efficiency. Can you hit the ball straight every single time? And can you consistently hit the ball with the right spin rate? When you can do that, then you can get your speed to where you can do that every single time. So I'm concerned about efficiency, which speed is a part of that, but I want you to be efficient. So find that place where you're the most efficient. And if you're swinging really fast and hitting behind it, I think you're swinging too fast. You're trying too hard, and that's not how you play the game. I think that's too fast. And I'll just give you a quick example. I have a student of mine who I teach who can swing it faster than that. He swings it very fast. I've been slowing him down because golf, look at a golf course. How many holes do you really need to hit it 340 yards on? Well, there's a few, maybe par fives, it's an advantage, right? But generally golf is played from knowing how far the ball goes and controlling the ball. So you need a certain amount of speed to play well. Let's say it's 100 miles an hour to 120 miles an hour, somewhere in there, 110. But you need control, because hitting a ball out of play, hitting it in the rough, hitting it in the trees, is where you can't play golf. You can't play golf from all speed. You have to have control and efficiency. So I'm all about hitting fairways and efficiency and then getting speed up. I work golf swings backwards. I work efficiency into speed, not speed into efficiency, because I want the mechanics to be great, I want impact to be great, then I want to add speed to that. So that might be a little backwards in most people. People are very wrapped up in the speed thing. We need speed, but you need to be efficient first. That's my opinion. I have found I block my irons if I don't stand a bit open. Is this common? I notice the alignment tool suggests solid open stance run. Well, you got to be, do I need to be open with the irons? Once again, I would need to see your swing. It'd be nice to see your swing, but the irons are slightly open. But let me, can you capture my feet position real fast? Let me grab my stick here. Check out this little alignment tool I have here. So when you say open versus closed, and I got my alignment training here, but I got this also the stick, because I'm going to put it on my toe line. Yeah, down the line. So you'll notice, watch this. So if you look at my toes, they're completely straight, right? Now I'm going to open my lead foot. Now let me do something else real quick. I got another stick here. And so if you look at my toes, they're completely straight. I'm going to put this one on my heels. Okay, so my feet are straight out, no turning them whatsoever, and that stick is on my heels. Now watch this. My heels are not going to move, but I'm going to rotate my foot. Now my feet are open. but my heels have not moved. So now let's look at those sticks. So one stick is this one, this stick is now looking open. And so what you're calling open is simply a rotated lead foot even though your heels are not open. That's why I'm pretty hesitant to talk about open and closed, because unless your body is open and you're just looking at your feet may be square and you think they're open. That's why it's a must-see for me on video. So I am much more concerned about where your lead foot is rotated and your heel position. And by the way, my single plane 3D system measures all this if you're ever interested in that. But so I would say that you're probably not really that far open. Your feet just look like the lead foot's turned, which makes you appear open, but you're not really. So that's just without seeing your swing, that's my guess. Are there specific drills for someone transitioning from traditional swing to one plane? Look, there's no drills. I'm not a drill type person, really. I'm a mechanics person. I'm a guy, get your fundamentals right, and the reason there's no drills is because of this. If I put you, the first thing you need to do is nail down the address position. You must get the address position correct, all right? And that took me a long time to get it. So get the address position correct. Now, the address position, because it's different than a traditional swing, means that you move differently in the backswing. And it means you're going to be a little different at the top of the backswing. So if you get the address right, the backswing changes and then the downswing changes. So match the model. That's the drill, is match the model. I never did any drills. I simply kept looking at Mo and I kept looking at me. I kept looking at Mo, I kept looking at me. And I kept matching the model. And a lot of it was getting the address right. And then obviously the lead knee being flexed, but I couldn't get the lead knee flexed until my upper body was correct. So I keep matching the model. The drill is match the model. Keep doing it. Keep doing the work to match the model, and it all comes together. With the driver, I get that one all the time, but what club? Because launch angle and angle of attack are different with every club. But I can tell you what I'm getting. Let me just tell you. All right, so here's some data I have on my launch angle. I don't think I have angle of attack on here, but launch angle is 14.7 degrees. They average 14.0, so about 14.0 is my launch angle. Yeah, so the launch angle is 14 degrees. Angle of attack, I don't know if I have that on here. Anyway, I don't know if that helps at all. I have the yips when I pull out my driver, fear of topping the ball. Is that more of a ball? Look, the key is to build a great golf swing and go and tee the ball up and then make that swing. So if you're having some fear of that, you need to practice more. And by the way, when I say practice more, it's not just about pounding golf balls. You need to be on the range practicing like you're going to hit a ball on the golf course. So let me give you an example of that. When I'm practicing on the driving range, I hit about 80% of my shots with the driver. But by the time the end of my practice session is over, I've hit quite a few drivers. And I don't just stand there and pound drivers. I walk back, and then I walk in, I set up, and then I hit. And then I walk back, I walk in, and so each shot that I'm hitting with the driver is just like I'm playing on the golf course. You need to practice like you play sometimes. Not all the time, but pretty much you need to practice like you play. So if you have the yips with a driver, you need to learn a routine right here that gets you to give you a nice routine, so when you go to the golf course, and you probably you're not topping on the driving range. So when you get to the golf course, you come out and you do this. You walk into your shot, you set up to it, just like you're on the range. You get comfortable like you normally do on the range, and then you hit it. And so you're basically walking through exactly, you're practicing like you're playing. A lot of times when I see people have something psychological like the yips with the driver, it's because they play so much differently than they practice. So they practice one way and they go play, and all of a sudden now they're just so caught up in result. You have to get away from result. When you play the game of golf, and I know this is challenging, and I know this is more of a mental game issue, but I don't ever worry about result. When I'm hitting shots on the course, I basically line up, I pick my shot. This is a 7-iron. I'll pick my shot. All right, 7-iron, left side of the green. All right, I'll walk in here, I'll line it up. And then I get comfortable and I simply execute a good golf swing. I just make a good golf swing. And then the ball does whatever it does. It goes hopefully where I want it to go. If it doesn't, then I figure it out. But you can't be so focused on result. And that's one of the challenges of this game, is that it's not about the result, it's more about the process of execution. So you must practice that process. It's a very important process. Good players are, they're the best at it. I always seem to pick the ball clean or blade low on the face no matter what I experiment on ball position. I never leave divots. What video or checkpoint can help me get compression? Okay, you want compression? Here's what I want you to do. All I want you to do is this. Take a 7 or 8 iron, get your ball in the correct spot, take the club back to right here, don't go higher than the waist. Don't hinge your hands, so it's going to feel like very little hand hinge. So just go waist high and then hit until you can compress it, because most people that aren't compressing the ball are stopping their upper body and releasing the hands. We've got to get you to match the lead arm with the torso rotation. So I want you really, really short swing and then trying to compress it with a very short swing, see what happens. And then as you get better at it, you can lengthen out the arm motion. But I want you to compress the ball with a short swing right now, all right? And make sure you're getting through it. And by the way, let me do it one more time. I want you to make sure you finish the swing. So you're going to take it back very short, let's say waist high, and then you're going to finish the swing. Okay, finish your swing. And that's going to help you get the hands leading and match the torso rotation. Okay, that's your drill. Assume someone has mastered the model. How do you add additional distance? Swing harder? No, swing faster. There's a difference. Move the club, move the body, move everything faster. That means you may even speed up backswing and downswing. So once your mechanics are good, you can speed up the sequence of events. So you speed up backswing and downswing. And you may need to be stronger to do that, right? Look at Bryson, for example. He's had to get stronger. So if you master the mechanics and you're really, really good with mechanics, you've got to strengthen the body to speed up both backswing and downswing, and that's how you're going to swing it faster. So setting up further behind the ball, I understand where my head placement should be at address, but where should my eye placement be through my transition? Always at the ball. You're just looking at the golf ball. So no matter where the club head is, I'm looking at the ball, strike the ball, and then once I strike the ball, I basically look at where the ball is going. So you follow the shoulders with the head. So you're always looking at the ball until after you strike it. Huh? If your left shoulder is the fulcrum of your swing, then any club you would use is hitting the ground behind the ball. Shouldn't your shoulder be an inch or two in front of the ball? The answer is yeah. I mean, the shoulder is if the shoulder is the fulcrum, which okay. But the problem is the fulcrum. If the fulcrum's turning, but okay, shouldn't your shoulder be an inch or two? It is in front of the ball. I mean, the question is this: look, my left shoulder, look, it's in front of the golf ball, and it's in front of the golf ball. And if you're talking shoulder of the arm or shoulder of the torso, either one, they're both in front of the golf ball. But you're not with a driver. That's what I'm saying, is a driver is different because you're not hitting down on a driver. You want to hit upward with a driver. And a 3-wood, probably pretty similar. You're just catching at the very bottom of the arc. So even if you're saying the shoulder is the fulcrum, then the fulcrum, see, look at the driver. It's going down, 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 down. Now it's going up. And that's where it's going up is where you want the ball positioned. So I don't necessarily disagree with that. But here's the question. How are you changing where the ball is relative to the lead shoulder? As I'm doing that with my stance width. See, I'm doing it with stance width, and the driver, the ball position's a little forward. So that's how that fulcrum is changing. But I mean, that's a decent conversation, but a simple setup, my shoulder is always in front of that ball with an iron, always. So how important is keeping the back foot flat through impact? This is a good question, and I like to keep it down. And the reason I want it down is because it's slowing the pelvis down. It's not letting the pelvis get too fast. So as long as it stays pretty far down, if it comes up a little bit, I'm okay with it. Sometimes you'll see my foot creep, but I really want to keep it down enough. It has to stay down through transition so that the torso can separate. And so we're slowing this down so this can separate. And what happens is, if you see the foot come up way too early, this has no stability to separate. So it's kind of like when it comes up. So what I want is, I want the foot to stay down in separation. So when you separate the body, that foot needs to be down, and then it can come up after that. But you must get this body, upper body moving without that heel coming up. Otherwise, you don't get the upper body separating. So that's a good question. So from John McBeath, vertical drop. So vertical drop, he says, please explain vertical drop. Vertical drop is a term that Mo used for a feeling of how the club moves during the transition of the swing. But let me preface this by saying you do not need to practice vertical drop. You need to practice the proper movement of the body, and the vertical drop occurs. So what it is when Mo would get to the top of the backswing and he would transition, you see when I do that, my body increases its tilt and it brings my arm and the club down. So the club actually feels like it's dropping vertically down like that. That's what Mo felt occurred, and that's what does feel like. But he's not doing this. He's not trying to make that happen. What he's doing is he's set up correctly, he takes it back, and then as he transitions, as this goes that way, he transition, the club makes that motion, which he called the vertical drop. Okay, stance with a 70-yard shot. I have my yardages written on the back of my club. This is a, let me see, 9 o'clock, 60. So here's my 70-yard shot. It's a wedge. The ball position is still 5 inches inside my lead foot. This is a 58-degree wedge. There's my 70-yard shot right there. Okay, 70 yards. My 12 and 8-year-olds are starting off. Would you suggest me teaching the single plane swing to them? What? How would you suggest? It's the same thing. It's fundamentals. They're going to be gripping it in single plane whether you teach them or not. It's the conventional golfers that'll pull them out of that. I guarantee it. They're going to grab a club and point it straight at the ball. They will be very much, but follow the basic fundamentals. Make sure for your kids that the clubs are fit to them, because I see parents give their kids clubs that are too long, and it's hard to do that. But anyway, get clubs that fit them and just let them go right to the fundamental single plane. They should be able to get it just fine. So David, that would make your swing speed at 107. That's correct. My swing speed's between 107 and 110. That's correct. Yeah. My mishits are exclusively right for right-handed golfers. Sometimes fade, sometimes push, fade, easy fix. Go back to the fundamentals, guys. Listen. You want me to fix your swing here, and I don't know if your grip is good, your setup is good, I don't know. But here's what I do know. If you match the model, you'll get it. Match the model. We have a coaching program. You can send us videos. I'll be happy to connect you with that. But you need to match the model. Something is off if you're not matching the model. If you match the model, you get it. So either you do it by videotaping your swing or you let us do it. But either way, I'm not going to try to guess at why the ball is going to the right. I'm going to sit there and say, match the model. I'm always going to say that. Assuming my positions are correct, how can I stop coming over the top? I feel so stiff holding the positions throughout the swing. Well, your positions may be correct at address, David, but you obviously aren't getting the proper positions coming down if you keep coming over the top. So how can I stop? I feel stiff holding the positions throughout the swing. Well, so here's what I would do. Just listening to your question there, I would make sure, so don't be afraid to work in slow motion, right? So if you're going to take a club, go to the backswing, and then what does it feel like to not come over the top? Like, what would it feel like to not come over the top and then hit a golf ball? Try that. Videotape your swing. What does it feel like to get the club to not come over the top? And then that feeling, that's a good way to start, is to try to get a feeling of not doing it and then practice that. But once again, what you're saying stiff, is your right arm stiff? Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to see that. Okay, let me just read this one that's up from Dave. Using the iron. Oh. The lie angle one? Does using a single plane swing change my lie angle? Like I said, maybe. I don't know what your lie angle is. I mean, I don't know what your current lie angle is. If it's upright, probably. My clubs are flat. But you need to get your clubs fit to your single plane. That's my point. When people ask me questions like that, like, do I need to fit my clubs to my lie angle? I don't know, because I don't know what your lie angle is. I don't know where you got your clubs fit. I don't know who you bought them from. I don't know if they're long or short. I can't answer those questions. That's why I'm doing this today on YouTube, because I want to answer your questions, but those are impossible to answer. But here's the deal. You need to get clubs fit to your swing. You need to go get a perfect single plane address and then go, I need clubs fit to that. And then get your clubs fit. We have a club fitting part of our company as well, which if you contact me, and I'll give you my email here in a minute, contact me. I'll be happy to send you to the parts of our company that can help you. But those kind of questions I just can't answer. But my clubs are 2 degrees flat. I'm 5'9". I'm not a tall guy. My clubs are 2 degrees flat. So my clubs are flatter than standard. And probably most of the time your clubs will be flatter as well. But you might be 6'4". I don't know, right? I don't know. So, yeah. What is it? For tall people, where's that one?
Very top. Very top.
Oh, I don't see it. It says any tips for tall people. Okay. Any tips for tall people with a single plane swing? Get clubs that fit. I mean, I teach guys in the NBA. I teach guys that are 6'7", 7 feet tall. And the biggest challenge with tall guys, and I'm just going to put it out there, is club fitting, because clubs are not built for guys that tall. So you need to have clubs that fit your arm length and can keep your spine in a nice single plane position. I've been known to get really long shafts built for the NBA guys so they don't bend over so much. But don't be afraid to get clubs that are really, really long for you, because generally guys that are that tall, over 6'5", 6'6", need to have clubs that are specially built. All right, so now, by the way, those of you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notifications, and give me a thumbs up if you're liking this content. But also, I've answered all of these questions, like, why is the driver position so far behind the ball when Mo hits a driver? I've answered these in videos, so feel free to go through all my videos on the channel. I've answered these in a video format rather than do it in 2 minutes here. I've done it in video format, so don't be afraid to go through my channel. But if you look at the ideal position of the body, let's just go through this, why Mo put the club behind the ball. Let me grab my tee. Okay, so this is I'm going to probably wrap up here because we're almost done, but let me just wrap up by doing this. The absolute goal of the single plane swing is to simplify the most important moment of the swing. What is that? Impact. If we look at impact, and I got a driver in my hand here. If I look at impact, let's look at the body position, right? My body is open, rotated open 35 degrees. The club is realigned with my lead arm. My pelvis is open about 30 to 35 degrees. My knee is stable, and I'm able to deliver the club and the back of the hand perfectly square to the back of the ball. Now I can add speed to that, and I can compress that ball and deliver the club here every single time. So I'm able to get to this moment of impact, the moment of strike, with a square hand, square face, and body position that allows me to do it in a very, very consistent fashion. Okay? Now, that moment of impact, the body position is different than that at address. At address here, I only have about 15 degrees of body rotation open, where I have 35 at impact. So to set my body to where I can take the club back and get it to its ideal impact, I must place the club slightly behind the ball. And now I asked Mo this exact question. Mo, why is your club behind the ball? Because he found that if he put his body at 35 degrees open at address, that he would take the club on an outside path in the backswing. So everything that Mo Norman did in the swing was to simplify what? The ability to get the club back and then to that most important moment of impact. So Mo placed the club back behind the ball, that far, because it made it easier to make a on-plane backswing and get back to this ideal moment of impact. That's the reason why he did it. Now, if you asked him, he said, I don't take it outside. It's easier to make a backswing. I'm already into my backswing, because if you look at my position, my shoulder's already in my turn, versus if I start here, it's not in my turn. All those are just mechanical reasons, but the real reason is it makes getting to impact easier. So you want to start the club somewhere beneath the nose, which is behind the ball, not directly behind it, but beneath the nose. That makes it easier to go back and makes it much easier to get to that moment of impact when you come down. One more question. From Zoix, what is the best way to learn from your team with pandemic happening? Each state has different rules. Guys, that'll be a great follow-up question here. I've done a couple of things for you. Okay. The absolute best way to get instruction from our team is through our coaching program. And Keenan, can you type in there? Here, if you're interested in our coaching program, which, by the way, we have limited numbers of spots for our coaching program. And what I mean by that is we have so many students sending videos to us daily. We have coaches. We have 4 or 5 coaches that are on answering and sending in videos, or we're coaching you through video. But we can't take everybody, so we can probably only take a few more people in this. But here's what I want you to do. If you're interested in our coaching program, which is really the best way to get some instruction right now, I could be teaching you right now, email me at toddg@gravesgolf.com. toddg. Okay, so he put a link on there for it, but if you have questions about it, email me at toddg, just put my toddg@gravesgolf.com. And I will connect you to our coaching program, and right now we could be coaching you. Okay, that's number one, so keep that in mind. In the description in this video, for those of you that want to see it, we have access to a pocket guide. It's $6 or $7, and this will coach you through. This is something you can take right to the range. And I know it's hard to learn stuff when you're out there on the range, but you could be literally going through this book and getting coach yourself on the range. So here's a little inexpensive thing that you could be getting some coaching right now. So there is a link to this pocket guide in the description. I've also placed a link to my book in the description, and I've also placed links to our training aids that you get a YouTube discount in the description. So I put some stuff in the description for all of you guys that are joining me today. I thank you very much, but the absolute best option, really, to answer your question, is get with our coaches. Send us some videos. Get your phone out, take a video of your swing, and I can get our coaches, and we'll coach you through the exact solution, because I'm trying to not only coach you the single plane swing, I'm trying to speed up this learning process as well. I want you to get it as soon as possible. All right, so that's the best way to do that. Anyway, let's wrap up for today. Lots of questions, lots of stuff. It's great stuff. Don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like the content. And if you have more questions, please post them in there. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll talk to you soon.